Hi. Welcome to the Accessible Playthroughs channel. This will be episode 1 of my playthrough of Blueprints. It is intended to be accessible for people with visual disabilities and spoiler-free so that you can puzzle along. So when a puzzle appears, I will describe everything needed to solve the puzzle, but not give the solution to the puzzle itself. The next time that puzzle appears, I will then solve it on another day, hence in another episode. I will begin by describing the startup of the game and the menu, and then we'll start the intro of the game, which I'll also describe, and then we'll do actual gameplay. Alright, let's boot it up and take a look. We begin a completely black screen with the blue Holly logo in the middle, which I'll describe in a moment. We're on the loading screen where we see the logo in the corner, and we see the logo of the developer, Dogobon, which is a dog running towards you. The logo of the publisher, Raw Fury, in blue. And the menu. We see the title of the game, Blueprints, as in the color and Son of King. Blue is in blue, Prince is in white. It is clearly a custom font with various decorations that separate the letters out into partitions, and also lines and arrows as if on a technical drawing or an actual blueprint. Then we have the 4 game options: new game, profile, settings, and quit game. And then we have the background of the menu. So on the right hand side is a table. On that table are literal blueprints, some architectural objects, a right angle, a compass for drawing circles, and a compass for finding north, a candle in a candlestick holder, a white bishop chess figure, which is way larger than it should be, an hourglass, a violin, a chalice, some golden coins, some books, a series of books on top of which a red paper crown is stacked, and the bust of an old man with a beard. There is also a globe in the background, which is not as a desk ornament, but as a room ornament that you can that you usually see, that one of those that you can open up and put drinks in. Further, we see in the background, very dimly, a fireplace and a crescent moon with a hole in the middle, a circular hole in the middle. We see some columns and some other remnants of the room, but it is really difficult to make out what it is. We see a red curtain hanging diagonally in the top right corner, and basically very faintly walls in the background, and what appears to be a picture, but I can't really make out what it does, what it depicts. Right, I will click New Game, and we will see the intro. I will describe the intro as it is going. Right, we are on a loading screen again, so we see the Mount Holly logo in the bottom right corner. Loading, and now the intro begins. The screen is currently black. Dogobon presents, which was the name of the developer, in association with Raw Fury, the publisher. A game by Toddler Ross. We see a picture of an old man with a beard, in a suit. It is in black and white.
I, Herbert S. Sinclair of the Mount Holly estate at Reddington, do publish and declare this instrument last will and testament,
Clearly this is a reading of a last will.
and hereby revoke all wills.
The last will is played from a gramophone that is in a room
made by me.
with chairs and lounge chairs. We see pictures of family members and an invitation.
My grandnephew, Simon,
Several photographs of single
son of
and
my
multiple
dear
people.
niece, Mary Matthew, all of my right, title, and interest in.
We see a full view of the entire mansion, filmed from a bird's eye view, and the entire estate, with forests, a cliff, a waterfall. We see the will as paper from top down on a disc.
On my aforementioned grandnephew discovering the location of the 46th room of my 45-room estate. The location
We see a door with the number
has been
46.
kept a secret from all the staff and servants of the manor.
We see blueprints
But I am confident
with squares
any heir
depicting
worthy of the
individual
Sinclair
rooms
legacy
with descriptions.
should have no trouble uncovering its whereabouts within a timely manner.
For example, Great Hall
Should
and
my
Courtyard.
grandnephew fail to uncover this room or provide proof of his discovery to the executors of my will,
We see
then
typewritten
this
the
gift
parts of the
shall
will.
lapse. In witness
Now,
whereof
focusing on shall
I
lapse.
have hereunto set my hand this 18th day of March, 1993. Herbert S. Sinclair.
With a zoom onto his signature, Herbert S. Sinclair. The screen fades to black. The words blueprints appear. As in, color, son of king. We are in first-person perspective, zooming across the court in front of the house. We're zooming closer and closer into the mansion. We see a person, a boy on the right-hand side. We're zooming past him and are now entering the mansion. So, we are in the entrance hall of the mansion. I will briefly describe the UI because there is not so much there just now. But we see in the top left corner 2 footsteps and the number 50 next to them. I can freely move around and can start to describe the entrance hall. We have a polished floor consisting of checkered tiles in black and grey, and we see the reflection of the rest of the room in that floor. There is a holder for walking sticks on the left, a small dresser with small figurines of birds, which are either taxidermy or artificial birds, 2 regular lamps, and what appears to be a lantern carrying a candle. They're all off. There's also a hat stand. That's on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side of the entryway are 2 chairs, 2 wooden chairs with blue and black upholstery on the cushions. We are standing in a arched doorway, so we can look up and see the arch, and we can walk into the room. We see 2 columns and a grand chandelier hanging from the ceiling. On the left side, we see a vase on a pedestal. On the right side, we also see a vase on a pedestal. We walk further into the room. We see a large round table in the middle of the room. On the table are a vase of flowers. On the right is a roll of blueprints, and a letter is also on the table. Let me describe the rest of the room before I pick up these objects. On the left, so the shape of the room is a square with another notch in the south, and the notch in the south was the arched entryway. We are now in the center square. On the left-hand wall, there is a door leading to somewhere else. We also see another chair in a slightly different design. Next to the chair, a small side table, which carries a black note. The wall also has 2 lamps attached to either side of the door. A painting that depicts a city, a seaside city with mountains in the background. There's also a grandfather clock on that side. On the front side, there is another door, a little more grand, with the Mount Holly logo on top of it. and a bust to the left and the right inside an alcove. There's also 2 lamps on the wall next to the door. The Mount Holly logo, as I've mentioned multiple times but not have had the time to describe, is a holly leaf, so a vaguely oval-shaped leaf that has round cutouts that dip in and out. In the center is a line from top to bottom and 3 overlapping circles, and further leaves teetering out on the bottom to the right and to the left of the logo in spirals that appear to represent twigs, which then carry more holly leaves. The logo itself is in what appears to be brown wood. The door itself below... The door itself is the same, but the door has a more elaborate framing of wooden panels together with a triangular top upon which the Holly logo rests. On the right-hand side, we have another door. This door also has framing. The one on the left did not have framing, but this framing is a little less grand. We again have 2 lamps attached to the wall on either side, and even further away from the door are 2 paintings, or drawings rather. So we have from left to right, drawing, lamp, door, lamp, drawing. Underneath the 2 drawings are 2 lounge chairs, and the drawing on the left is a black and white drawing of a left hand holding a Queen of Diamonds playing card. The right drawing is a right hand holding a Ace of Spades playing card, and the central Ace of Spades within it is designed to mimic the Mount Holly logo. Let us approach the side table first and see the black note that lies on it. So, the black note, there is white text on the black note saying, "Searching the estate can be exhausting," in very large font. And then in smaller font, "Each time you enter a room, you will lose 1 step." Right, so instead of the word step, you see the 2 footprints. And the 2 footprints are also very large on the top left of this note. It further says, "When you no longer have any steps left," again the steps logo, "you will be too tired to continue searching the manor and must call it a day," where "call it a day" is in blue in italics. I will now approach the main table. There is a letter. Well, we'll open the letter. The letter says, "Open only in the event of my death," and there is a stamp with a blue ship in the top right corner. In the top right corner. And we open the letter, and it says, it is multiple pages. It appears to be 3 pages. On top of the page is the Mount Holly logo again. And it says, "Simon, welcome to Mount Holly. You may not remember, but I have fond memories of your many visits here as a young boy, and I hope these rooms provide you with as much amusement as it did in those lost summer days. By the time you read this, I will assume you are fully aware of my last wishes and all the details of the bequest. Please do not mistake my intentions in giving you this challenge as a lack of confidence. I assure you nothing could have been further from my mind when I chose you as my heir." Next page. With that said, there are a few ground rules of this commission covered in the fine print of my will that I feel I should bring to your attention. Now the font changes to a different font and all capital letters. No tools or items may be brought onto the estate from the outside. Tools and items on the estate may not be taken off the estate. You may not stay overnight. And overnight is underlined. We go back to the original font, which was a regular typewriter font. I don't suspect that any of these stipulations should prove an impediment for someone as resourceful as yourself, but it is very important that you, in quotes, start fresh each morning and not rely on the successes of the previous day. Third page. One final word of advice. Do not assume the rooms you find today will be the same rooms you find tomorrow. These grounds have provided me a home for the last half-century, and even I am uncertain of which room lies beyond any particular door. Your grandmother used to say, "Don't go where the path leads, abandon the path, and go where you want it to lead." And then in handwriting underneath, "With all my love and best wishes," I apologize, "with all my love and wishes, best of luck, Herbert S. Sinclair." Right. And then there's the rolled up blueprint, which we're going to pick up. So when you pick up an item, the item will vanish and then appear in front of the screen on the left-hand side with the description on the right. So right now we see the rolled up blueprint on the left-hand side hovering in front of us, and on the right, in italics, "You found," and then in another script, "the Mount Holly," and then in very bold and very big letters, "Blueprint." Then a smaller description underneath. "This will serve as a useful map and inventory log during your adventure. You may access the Blueprint menu by pressing Tab." Blueprint menu again in blue and stylized. So I click again. Oh, no, I hit Tab and we see the Blueprint menu. So this is a completely different UI, so I will describe it as best as I can. The entire thing is blue, and as is usual for actual blueprints, the lines and everything else on it is white. So everything is set within a frame. I will only describe what is inside of that frame. In the left third of the screen that we're currently seeing, we see a grid, a square tile grid, and we see it has 5 ranks from left to right, and 5 files from left to right, and 9 ranks from top to bottom. In the I will refer to this a lot, so we will use chess notation of files and ranks, and A, B, C, D, E for the files going from left to right, and ranks 1 up to 9 going from bottom to top. So the center file, in other words C, and rank 1, so the bottom row, has the entrance hall, which is the hall in which we are standing. So there's a small logo depicting the shape of the room, and a miniature version of the top-down view if one were to hang a camera where the chandelier is. It says entrance hall, and you can clearly see the walls, including the doorways leading away from the walls. So you can see that the entrance hall has the arched doorway I described at the beginning to the south, and 3 more doorways, one to the left, to the front, and to the right. On the opposite end, we have on rank 9, file C, the antechamber. The antechamber appears to be a completely white room with black lines. Now, there is a zoomed in version of the currently selected room on the right hand side. So the grid I described was in the left third of the screen. The other 2/3 have the words Mount Holly Estate Blueprint. I zoomed in version of the currently selected room, so the entrance hall, and if I move my cursor over the antechamber, that will swap to the antechamber. So I can now describe the antechamber. We see, again, a view from top down so that we can also see the walls. And we see 4 different doors, 1 in each cardinal direction, and a square white floor, white panels on the walls with very, very little description. It appears to imply that the antechamber is something that is desirable to be reached, because all the other squares of the hall of the grid are empty. Furthermore, it says in the top right corner day 1. Below that we have again the logo for steps and 50. Underneath that is 1 block, basically starting from the middle going all the way to the right, saying inventory, which is currently empty. Underneath that is another rectangle where things might go in. Then on the left, so between the inventory section and the grid, there is another square that is empty with no description. And in the bottom right, it says call it a day. There is a button that will light up in yellow with a moon and 2 stars and the words call it a day. And they all turn yellow when I hover over it. I will now go back from the blueprint menu to the regular view of the house. And we are once again free to move around. I will... if I hit escape, the game dims halfway to black, and I can see the options resume day 1, which would bring me back to gameplay, call it a day, room directory, game settings, and save and quit. I will briefly go to the game settings, which has the options volume, graphics, accessibility, controls, and back. Accessibility has the 3 sub-features color assist mode, control rebind, and widescreen support, but they are currently not available. What I want to focus on is the controls, which gives you notes of the system menu, which we just accessed by pressing escape, the blueprint menu by pressing tab, the room directory by pressing R, and shift to stroll, soft toggle or hold. Some other options that are irrelevant. What I'm trying to focus on is that we can, by holding shift, run. Walking around the hall itself does not appear to decrease the footsteps. And we are now going to go out of the house through the arched doorway in the south to explore the rest of the estate that is not part of the building before we enter any of the 3 rooms. So, we see that the doorway itself is decorated with blue glass tilings, irregular shaped. We see on the outside, well, there is one balcony-like structure just as we exit with grand columns overseeing another archway that we enter through. There are steps leading down to the driveway. They are rather large, and there is a curved railing on both the left and the right-hand side in a symmetric view. What we see is the driveway court, which has a fountain in the middle. It is a circular fountain around which are circular stone slabs oriented in circular fashion, around which are 3 large rectangular but circle segmented flower pots or flower beds. We see at the end of the driveway is a railing that implies a drop downwards. And in the background, we see a mountain in fog, in clouds. We see several trees and forests on the way to the mountain, and the mountain itself is in the shape of a holly leaf. Now, it is basically a mountain with 3 summits going upwards, and then a 4th one which weirdly first points outwards and then inwards to form the top of the holly leaf. So imagine, for example, a 5-pointed star that sits on top of a mountain with the bottom gap of the star merging in with the mountain, but the two pointy ends to the left and right, and the top one all being concave. Right. There are also trees and bushes planted all around. We will now go down the steps towards the fountain. The fountain is about 2 or 3 meters long, maybe. I will be using metric. Terribly sorry if you're used to Imperial. There are 4 needle... well, are they needle trees? Possibly. On the edge where I described the drop, if I turn to the right, so we walked out of the we'll have the convention that the doorway entrance is pointing north to enter the door and south to leave the door. So we are currently looking south towards the fountain and looking south towards the Mount Holly. If we turn to the right, we will therefore be looking west. On the west, we see the railing continue. It is stone railing, maybe white marble or just some other white stone, leading to a ornamented wooden gate. Also, the driveway and court itself is larger circular with basically the fountain in the middle, and outside of that circle is rather tall cut grass, and by rather tall I mean like a hand's width tall. Leading towards the wooden gateway on the left are stone steps, and I will now walk these stone steps towards the gate, and the cursor changes to a hand when I'm close enough to the gate, and I will click, and we after clicking, the door rattles but does not budge. In other words, it moves slightly but it does not open. On the right hand side of the gate, the fence continues, or the railing continues back towards the house, and we can now take a look at the house from the south. And it looks like a hodgepodge of rooms. So it is not in any way coherent in design. It looks like every room of the house got its own individual outside architectural feature. So describing them from the center westwards, we see a complete rounded room pointing outwards, and then to the left of that we see a room completely protruding outwards, which is rectangular and has round sections. The colors are all very different. The round room I described was in lighter brown wood. The extruded room on the very left is in dark black wood. They're behind them, they are attached to the rest of the house, which appears with a red brick facade, but we can see directly behind that facade are further rooms protruding upwards and outwards to a very mixed expression of architectural creation. Let's put it like that. To the right, we see another architectural style where we just see straight blue walls with very tall windows and further windows on the top of that. Further to the right, we see something resembling a clock tower with a clock in the middle and a round dome on top. And further to the right, we see some form of upper balcony. Below that, we have walls that are cracked. And further to the right, we have another circular feature. Between the driveway and the house are, other than the set of stairs and the railings pointing outwards, pieces of lawn, then separated several rows of bushes. Further to the left, we see two paths, one leading towards a large gate, large metal gate, ornamented again with the insignia of the Mount Holly. It is, I would say, ajar, so you can easily walk through or ride through with a bicycle, but you wouldn't be able to enter with a car right now. Further to the right, so basically looking southeast. So basically straight east was the gate I just described, and southeast is another stone steps path through the grass, leading to more railings and stairs going down to a lowered plateau, lower than the rest of the court. I will not be exploring that part of the game on this day, because there is a lot to see on the inside. We will continue with this tomorrow. We're half an hour in, and we haven't even seen the inside of Mount Holly. Right. I will also note that the moment we crossed the threshold from the room to the outside, the steps went from 50 to 49, and we're now going back inside. So back through the doors that are blue glass mosaics. We go back inside, and our steps are now 48. And we basically now have a choice to go to the door on the left, the central door, and the door on the right. And let's just take the central door. Each room has a room description from the room registry, which I will briefly read the description of this room. Past the steps and beyond the grand doors, admission to Mount Holly is granted by way of a dark and garish lobby, suitably called the entrance hall. From here, each guest's adventure begins. However, the 3 doors that proceed onwards do not always lead to the same adjoining rooms. Type, permanent, blueprint, rarity, not available. So N/A. Okay, we see yet another UI design coming up about the so if we separated the screen into 4 long quarters from left to right, we would see in the second quarter from the top a row of blueprints, so basically just blue squares spanning all the way from left to right, some architectural implements like a T-square. We see 3 different floor plans as squares from left to right, and we now need to choose one of these. I will now say in general that each floor plan will be square shaped. They will have a color, and they will have a name. They can have additional features that will be described, and they will have a certain number of exits. The exits will always be aligned to the 4 outside walls, and you can have 1, 2, 3, or 4 exits. Hence, if there is only 1 exit, this will be called a dead end. If there are 2 exits, it will either be a corner, and I will describe in which direction the other corner goes. If it's 2 exits, it could also be a straight line, so the other exit will be exactly opposite of where we enter. If it has 3 exits, I will just refer to it as T-shaped, and I will describe where the other 2 exits are. And if it has 4 exits, then it will be cross-shaped. So from left to right, we have a purple bedroom, a blue closet, and a orange hallway. The bedroom is a corner, and the other exit is on the right. The closet is a dead end, and the hallway is T-shaped, where we're entering the bottom of the T. In other words, there is an entrance to the left and to the right of the hallway. The hallway has no further description. However, we can see that we do not, in the top-down view of the room, that we do not see the entirety of the ground floor square. So there are some areas that are behind walls that we do not see, and in other words, the actual path that can be walked is narrower than the entire square. The same goes for the closet, which itself is maybe only fills about 20% of the entire ground floor square, but there is only 1 exit. The bedroom, I would say, consists of 90% of the entire square floor area. The hallway has no further descriptions. The closet has the description 2 items, and the bedroom has the description whenever you enter this room, gain 2 steps. And there is a logo of an arrow pointing towards an open door, which we'll call entry. And I will now choose one of these 3, and I'll make it simple and choose the closet. So I hover the cursor over the closet logo. It slightly increases in size, indicating that this is the selection. I click. Everything vanishes, and the door opens. And we now have drafted this closet right in front of us, and we can now see the closet as it is. so we can now enter the closet. As explained earlier, the closet is very narrow, so there is not much to move around in here. There is a small entryway, and beyond that entryway, we see several objects on the ground. We see a pair of red and white sneakers, a suitcase on the right, I believe a hat basket, if that's what they're called. And I will have to look something up real quick. A coat hanger, yeah. A coat hanger, or several coat hangers lying on the floor. The closet itself is built into this small space, and it contains 3 equally sized, or seemingly equally sized, compartments on the top, which have several boxes, and a clothes rack with several coats, an umbrella, and then several coat hangers with no clothes on. At the back of the closet, we see one of those pictures that I mentioned earlier, those black and white drawings. We see a wooden overpass over a creek with greenery on either sides of the creek. Within the closet, beneath the clothes, we see a couple of suitcases and a hat, more coat hangers, and a small ivory die within a tray. And underneath one of underneath the hat on the right is another picture. In this case, of a woman in a wedding dress holding flowers in front of her. I can pick up the dice, the die. We know that there are 2 objects in this room that we can collect, so I will click on the die. The die now is in full view on the left-hand side. It is a white die. The text says, "You found a single ivory die, plus 1 die," and like a small logo for the die. And it says, "While drafting, you may use the die to roll new floor plans." And also our HUD has updated. We can see on the top, where it's in the top left corner, it says 47 steps. In the top right corner, a little further to the left, it now says 1 dice. Also, in the bottom right corner, it always says which room we are in and what rank we are on. And so the entrance hall was in rank 1, so we are now in the closet in rank 2. And if I click again, the die disappears and is now in my inventory. If I change to the blueprint section, we can now see that the HUD in the top right corner has updated. Where it used to say 47 steps, it now says 47 steps, 0 keys, 0 gems, 0 coins, and 1 die. We will meet these in a moment, hopefully. For now, let me finish with the closet. I will click on the pair of sneakers. The sneakers go into our inventory in full screen on the left-hand side, and it says you found a pair of running shoes. Occasionally save steps when traveling longer distances across the estate and grounds. And we click again, and it disappears. And if we go to our blueprints menu again, we can see that our inventory now has the running shoes as an item. I can click on it, and I will get the same description that I saw when I picked them up. Right, closet. A very modest recessed space used for storage. This particular closet is favored by the junior members of the staff who utilize it to stash away assorted articles and knickknacks whose proper place in the estate is yet unknown to them. Type, blueprint, dead end. Rarity, commonplace. Drafted 1 time. So, with that done, we will now leave the closet southwards. And we have a choice of going left or right. I will just go left. I click on the door, and I get a new choice. So again, we get the menu with the T-square, the blueprints, and the 3 floor plans. We have a red lavatory, which is a dead end. We have the bedroom again, which is a corner, so it's pointing to the right. And we have a spare room. The bedroom is purple, and a spare room which has blue boundaries, but itself is white. We can also now redraw floor plans. So there's an option on the right that has the logo of the dice. So if I click that, I would most likely get 3 new options. What I can also do is open a combined blueprints menu, which shows me the floor plans on the left that we have drafted so far. So we now understand that in position C1, where the entrance hall is, we are in C2. No, we're not in C2, but in C2 is the closet. And we're currently going westwards to B1. And we can either put the lavatory there, the bedroom, which since we are looking westwards and the bedroom has the second door on the right-hand side, this would point us northwards. Or we can take the spare room. The spare room is also has 2 exits. It is a straight room, so there is a door straight on the other side of it, which would then, if we were to draft it, lead to the square on A1. So we can either lock ourselves in a dead end with the lavatory, we can take the bedroom that points north, or we can take the spare room that points west. And we will take the spare room. The door opens, and we are now in the room that we briefly saw underneath. The room is completely in white. There are certain bits missing from the wall. There are some moving boxes and packaging tape. There is a small wooden chair. There is a ladder propped against one of the walls, and some painting utensils. A paint roller and 2 cans of paint, one of which is open and contains blue paint. Also, it appears that one of the walls has been started to be painted, but definitely not finished. So we can see why it's called the spare room, because overall it looks like a room that is unfinished, with chipped off edges. There is a fan on the top of this, mounted to the ceiling, combined with a lamp. The fan is spinning from our perspective counterclockwise, and well, there is nothing else to interact with in the room. So the only thing we can do is now go to the door that leads to A1. So I will read the description of the spare room. An unfurnished, unfinished, and otherwise unremarkable empty room. If there had at some point been plans for the spare room, it would seem those designs are now long forgotten. Type: blueprint, rarity, commonplace, drafted 1 time. And here we have, again, 3 options. Well, technically 4. The 3 rooms that we have that we can select from are the bedroom once again, and it's again 2 exits pointing to the north. A nook, which is also a corner room pointing to the north, and a parlor, which is also a corner room pointing to the north. We could also redraw. The nook and the parlor are both blue rooms. Remember that the bedroom has the entry symbol and says whenever you enter this room, gain 2 footsteps. The nook has additionally +1 key, and the parlor has a jigsaw piece with 3 innies and 1 outie. The nook is, for all intents and purposes, in the shape of a padlock, where the shackle of the padlock would be a sitting bench curved all the way around with a table in the middle, and the body of the padlock is tilted 45 degrees so that on the bottom and the right hand side is the rest of the room in the shape of a rectangle. What we can also see is a chair, a large ornament, a table, lamps, and things like that. That is just from the top-down view. The parlor has some chairs and a lot of tables. I will choose the nook and start describing that. We are also currently on 45 steps because we exited the entrance hall to the south when we had 50 and came back in, leading us to 48. We then entered and exited the closet, leading us to 46. And then we entered the spare room for 45. So we will now select the nook the door opens and we enter the Nook. We are walking westwards into the Nook, which means that the door is now on our right, which would point to the north. The room is at... So the main body of the room that we can walk is at a 45-degree angle, and we can see the round bench all the way around a single table. On the table are 2 books and a key. We pick up the key and it moves into our HUD. So next to the dice on the top row is now also a singular key, and we can also see that updated in the blueprint menu. I'll start by describing the main body of the room, and will then describe the actual Nook, so the rounded bench. So on our left we have a wooden hat stand and what appears to be an old wooden jukebox. We cannot interact with either. On the, let's call it the southwest wall, just to the left of the Nook, we have a picture. 1 second, I have to be careful. We have a picture of a, again, a hand drawing of a dessert table, a dessert plate, which has a flan on it with some sauce on it, or pudding, with a dessert spoon resting on it. Let me... on the other side of the Nook, we have another picture of sand dunes going back and forth left and right. There is a table on the very small northwestern wall. The table has a lamp on it. The lamp is on, and over it we have a shelf which consists of 3 large triangles that intersect each other, reminiscent of 3 mountain tops behind each other, similar to what we see when we look at Mount Holly outside. There are some decorative ornaments on them, but they seem to be of little interest. On the right of the table is another small table / bar chair, which has a black note saying "A journey noteworthy." As you continue your adventure, you may want to consider getting something to scribble down your notes and observations. A pad, scrap of paper, or perhaps most fittingly a journal, will prove to be an invaluable tool you will not regret having beside you on your journey. And then we see a picture of a handwritten journal. It appears to have a green cover with yellow corners and some things inscribed there. It looks like a dartboard, and we see a small grid of floor plans, but we can't really see that much because it is very detailed, but it's very small. So we put the note back down and we look into the northeast corner of the room, whereas the actual Nook is in the southwest corner. So in the northeast we have a large sofa chair next to a standing lamp. There is a small side table with 2 books and 2 more stacks of books on the right hand side of the chair. Now let's go to the Nook itself. So this part is basically the southwest part of this room. Note that the description of north, east, south, and west will or may change the next time we draft this room, but we'll get there when we get there. These are just descriptions relative to how we currently drafted them. Right. So as described, there is a sitting Nook. So there is a somewhat round bench, basically the top half of an octagon of wooden benches arranged in a way so that multiple people can sit around the same table. In the walls behind them are the walls are a darker yellow, like all walls here are darker yellow. No, a pale yellow. That's what I'd probably describe it as. And in three directions of the walls, we have more bookshelves extruded into the walls, and they contain a lot of books in several sizes, colors, and orientations. And on the left-hand side one, we see a chess piece, and it is a white rook, and it is the size of an entire book. Any other features? The ceiling is wooden paneled. There is a light source right above the Nook table, where I will read you the room description of the Nook. Nook, a snug corner reading room which serves as a quiet, private place for guests to spend a few hours of their afternoon away from the hustle and bustle of the staff. Type, blueprint. Rarity, commonplace. Drafted one time. And with that, we will continue north, going from A1 to B1. Our choices are the storeroom, which is a dead end, a chapel, which is a T shape, and the bedroom again. The storeroom is blue, the chapel is red. The storeroom has as additional descriptors +1 key, 1 gem, 1 coin. The chapel is red and says, has additional description, the entry symbol saying whenever you enter the chapel, and the chapel in red, you lose 1 coin. And the bedroom is as we've explained it before. I will choose the storeroom and begin to describe its contents. So, we enter the storeroom, which is a dead end. However, there is no hidden walls this time, so it is the full square floor plan of the room. So we have a north, east, south, and west facing walls, which appear to be covered with either large wooden slabs or stone slabs or wooden panels. With wooden bars and columns going to the ceiling and interconnecting on the ceiling for support. There's also paneled floors in horizontal stripes. To the left of B are 2 cardboard boxes, on top of which is a coin, which I'm going to pick up, and it appears in my inventory. There is further a wooden barrel, several pictures that are not facing my way, and one picture that is facing my way of a pilotable flying device with propellers on the front, some black birds and clouds in the sky. There are wooden crates of several sizes on the left-hand side wall, some of which are can be seen into, but they are empty. There is a mound of dirt on the ground and a large rolled up red and yellow carpet that is very thick and spans basically from all the way of the left to almost all the way to the right of the back wall. On the back wall, again, there are several paintings, only one of which we can see. It is rather large. It is rolled up and unfolded maps. And on the unfolded map, we can see the actual floor plan of the house. It is sideways, but we can identify the 5 by 9 grid. We can see that the entrance is on what should be the bottom, but the picture is rotated. We can see what should be the antechamber on the top, and the room which we are currently in has the letter E on it. Yes. And that is all on the north-facing wall. Like I said, in front of that painting is on the floor the carpet that is rolled up, and in front of the carpet we see another really small wooden table, which has a key on top of it, and I'll pick up that key. And in the northwest corner, so to the right of me, we see several objects of clutter. So we see 2 barrels, one of which has a gem on top, one of which has a bright yellow chess piece on top of it. It is a pawn, and it is again way too large, but basically the size of a book. For way too large for a regular chessboard. We see an obscure yellow, or rather orange and white box, which looks like 2 rooms stacked on top of each other, but they're like the size of a hamster cage. That is resting on top of a table. There's another round table next to it that has basically a table upside down on top of it. I'm not even sure if these are tables or bar stools. They could be either. They're certainly not used as stools. They might be a bit too big to be sat on them. There's a red dresser in the back right corner, on top of which is another wooden crate, some paper boxes, and a vase. There is a orange-black decorated carpet resting against the wall. There is another. There is a large set of wooden chairs all across the right-hand side of the room, of varying decorations. I will not describe all of them. Most of them have flat rests and some form of cushion, but some of them are just purely have a wooden rest. There is also one of the globes that I described at the beginning of the episode in the room. There is a rocking horse on the far south end on the right, another carpet rolled up, and a lamp. Each floor also... Oh, there is a small note here on one of the chairs. It is a drawing of a cartoonish drawing of a bird. The bird is completely in blue. He is wearing a full-body swimsuit. The legs are basically just individual lines. Everything else has volume. He has a yellow beak and is wearing a white swimming hat. And he's holding up his wings as, I don't know, enjoy. Let's put it like that. Storeroom. A dedicated storage space filled from end to end with a surplus of chairs, carpets, paintings, and a handful of other things that had at one time been in vogue and on display elsewhere in the house. Type: blueprint, dead end. Rarity: commonplace, drafted one time. Since this is a dead end, we will now go back south into the Nook. We'll go back to the spare room, and we exit the spare room back into the entrance hall. And now we check the door on the right. We have 3 options again. The parlor with the jigsaw puzzle piece, a blueprint. A corridor, which is orange and going straight. And the lavatory again, which is a dead end. Now, if we choose the lavatory, we will be locked out of further progression because there are no further doors to open. We are currently on C1 and we're going towards D1, and I will pick the corridor. The corridor is orange and has the note, "Corridor is always left unlocked." I will also quickly remind you of our current items. We have 1 die, 2 keys, 1 gem, and 1 coin, as we picked up a key in the Nook, and a key, gem, and coin in the storeroom, and we have picked up a die in the closet, and we also have the running shoes. The hallway, the corridor, is again a narrow space, so it does not fill out the entire square of the floor plan. We have orange decorated walls to the left and to the right. We have 3 windows on the south wall because we are on the actual south wall of the mansion, so we can look out to see Mount Holly in the distance and the entry, the driveway of the estate. There are several lounge chairs and tables with wooden or porcelain vases. There are several pictures and paintings. There is a candlestick holder and another one. Several chairs, more tables and vases. There is the door on the other end of the room. There are two pictures which we can see. One second. A needle tree standing on a somewhat rocky ground on the one picture. And a claspable bent piece of metal with a needle for fixing textiles to each other. The rest of the room is relatively unremarkable. The ceiling is also in orange, so each room has its own color style, and they usually adhere to that. We cannot interact with any of the other objects in the room, so we will continue eastwards from room D1 to room E1. And the options we have are bedroom, pantry, and nursery. Bedroom, as described previously, is a cornered room, but this time we are coming in from the right, and so the exit is on the left, which means we would be able to exit north. The pantry is a blue room, or blueprint. It is also angled towards the north. And the nursery is a purple room, and it is a dead end. The pantry has, as additional information, +4 coins. And the nursery has a drawing compass, so one for drawing circles, as a logo. And it says, whenever you draft a bedroom in purple, gain 5 steps. Additionally, underneath the nursery, it says gem requirement and a logo of a single gem. And in order to explore this particular game mechanic and to make this day not too long, we will actually choose the nursery and actively lock us out of further progression, because the nursery has no further exits and there are now no further exits to explore. We click on the nursery and we see our gem count has gone from 1 to 0. We have briefly seen in the top left corner where our steps are, they went from 39 to 44 with a small bed logo appearing with +5. In other words, the effect of this room was applicable for the room itself, because we have drafted a bedroom in purple and therefore have gained 5 steps. I will read the description. No, I will describe the nursery first and then read the description from the game. So, we enter the nursery. It is a completely purple carpet. The walls are in white with purple 5-pointed stars all over it. There is a there the sofa. Yeah, of course, it's sofa. There is a sofa in the bottom left. There is a sofa in the left corner which has a plushy pillow of a 5-pointed star with a smiley face in yellow. There is a red ball next to the sofa. To the left of that is a small wooden tray on children's height, where basically children can play with toys and put their toys back in. There are a couple of building blocks. There are 2 cupboards on top of each other with different colored doors, blue, yellow, red, and purple. There is a chair. There is a giant goose plushie, which is the size of a human, which is wearing a red cap. There are 2 cradles next to each other. Well, not next to each other, but spaced, lining the attached to the back wall. There are purple curtains hanging from one end of the cradles that appear to be able to be pulled over the cradle to rid them of light. In the cradle or cribs themselves, there are just a couple of pillows. There is a table in between the two cribs, which has a light on it. There is a banana. If we pick up the banana, it does not go into our inventory, but it vanishes and it says +3 steps. So basically we are consuming the banana to give us 3 more steps, and we're now on 46 steps. There is a red book on the table, which we're going to focus on afterwards. There is another rocking chair, some more building blocks, and a toy car on the floor. There is another sealed off toddler area with a street lamp in the corner. There are 3 more dressers on the right hand side, one of which is similar to the toy dresser that we saw on the other side of the room, one of which just has 2 drawers and a toy yellow dragon on top. And the third one is a large shelf with several levels. It is a white wooden shelf. The top layer has boxes, then some toy blocks, and another white or yellow pawn piece, a toy car, a Rubik's Cube, more building blocks, a couple of books, a blue ball with white stars on it. The red ball also had white stars on it, and another shoebox. On the on the west wall, so the wall through which we entered, there are 2 drawings on the wall. On the left one, we see a deer with antlers, and on the right one, we see a cost label of a sellable item that is on a thread. We will now read the room description and then take a look at the red book. The room description says, Nursery, one of the few rooms you vividly remember from your visits here in your youth. Though even at the time you remember the feeling a little old for the activities provided here. The twin cribs found in the room might suggest that at one point in time there had been some hopeful expectations of a sudden growth of the family tree. Cost is a new item in the descriptions. Cost 1 gem. Type drafting with as a description of the logo of the compass. Bedroom in purple, and dead end. Rarity commonplace, drafted 1 time. Now, the book is a completely red book. It is a flat book and has a picture of a tiny man with a red cape and a crown with red jewels on it. It is clearly a children's book, as it is rather flat and rather large. We open the book. On the right-hand side, it says The Red Prince by Marion Marigold. Next page. We have text on the left and a picture on the right that bleeds into the left. The picture is of a young boy with a crown sitting on a red throne. There are candlesticks as tall as a human, together with 2 knights in armor, which are statues. There are wall carpets that are fully in red. The bricks behind him are red, and there is a carpet rolled out in front of him that also that partially goes into the page on the left. It says, there was a red prince who sat on a red throne. He had a red crown made of rubies and a red castle made of stone. Next page, we see the red prince holding up a red apple. There are 2 red flags, a red trolley, a red stop sign without the word stop, but so just the octagon with in red. We see a fire hydrant, a lobster, several apples, a rose, and another fire hydrant on the other side. So the pictures are always on the right and some pictures on the left. And the text says on the left, the prince had a love for all things red. It's the only true color, the prince often said, with his exclamation in quotations. Next page, we have on the right-hand side a top-down view of the prince from a tree. So we see branches on the left and on the right with leaves. The left branch has purely green leaves. The right branch has purple and blue and some green leaves. On the branch on the left is a black bird looking down, but the black bird also has blue and purple feathers. On the right branch is a golden bird, or a bird with golden feathers, also looking down at the prince. And the prince is appearingly covering his eyes with his hands. And the text says, "He could not stand the sight of a canary or a crow. He could not stand the white of a swan in the snow." On the next page, we see the prince walking toward the camera, what appears to be us. He is looking down. We do not see his face. His face is not visible. We basically just see the beige of skin tone, but we see the crown bobbing downwards, so pointing, so as if he was looking down. We see the blue sky in the background with clouds and birds, and we see a tree with bushes on the left and right hand side. And the text says, "And he never looked up, for fear of the view. He had heard that the sky was not a red hue." On the next page, we have a bridge across a creek. That creek blends into the background, where it turns into a lake with mountains in the back and the sky in the back. The bridge turns into a path where the red prince is walking on that path, holding the book and staring down into the book. There's also a tree with some leaves on the bottom, but it appears to be winter. There are no leaves on the branches of the tree. The text says, "So he always had a book to turn his eyes down, if he was ever outside when the clouds weren't around." On the next page, we see the Blue Prince in his bed. The bed is, of course, also in red, with cushions and a duvet in red. He's holding the red book in front of him. There is a golden dresser with some candles. There is another larger candlestick ornament with candles. The foot of the bed has the drawing of a crown in it, and there are red curtains in the back. The text says, "And do you know which book the prince always had, the one that made him happy whenever he was sad?" On the next page, we see the Blue Prince in a bathtub, still wearing his crown, holding his book outside of the bathtub. The bathtub is porcelain with ornamented golden legs, some water splats on the floor, together with what appears to be shoes that have been moist from the rain. The text says, "A story he had read in the bath and the bed, and maybe you can guess with the clues that we have said." On the next page, we see a room with several objects covered in sheets, but they are clearly a table, a grandfather clock, and a chair, and a lamp or a hat stand, some cardboard boxes, which are not covered, and a grand mirror, which is also not covered. The prince stands in front of the mirror and points towards the mirror, and we see his own reflection in the mirror. The text says, "It was the story of a boy who also wore red, and he looked like our prince from his toes to his head." On the next page, we see a red prince in rather large. So he is sitting on the ground. Next to him is the book, and the book is opened, and we see that it is indeed the book that we are actually reading, but the page that it is open is the page where he holds an apple and with the fire hydrants and the flags. The text says, "And as you, my reader, may already assume, this book is quite near you, in fact, in the same room." On the next page, we only see the Red Prince from the shoulders down. He is holding the book, and we can see that on the book is the same figure of the Red Prince that is on the book that we are reading. And it says, "A story about you, if it needs to be said, about a Red Prince and his book, the red book we just read." And that's the end of the book. So we are on 46 steps. Since we have no more spaces to explore, we will now call it a day. We could explore further on the outside, but I do not want this episode to become much longer than it has to be, because we have to describe a lot of rooms. So we can either call it a day from the blueprint menu, where there was the moon in the bottom right corner, or from the escape menu. So we'll hit tab, go to the blueprint menu, click call it a day. And we get a note, "Are you sure you want to call it a day? Tomorrow you will awake to find the rooms of the estate as well as your current inventory will have been reset. And we have the options call it and not yet. And we'll click call it. The room fades to black. Together with the entire UI and everything, so everything is black. And now another picture fades in. We see a description of a house and a drawing of our house. It says Mount Holly, cramped bungalow. We see statistics. Total rooms 8. Rank reached 1. Steps taken 12. Items found 2. I think that should be rank reached 2, but I'm not going to worry about that. In the background, we see ourselves walking towards a campfire at night. In front of the campfire is a tent, and we'll explain what the point of that tent is in the next episode. This time on the right third of the screen, we see the 5x9 grid as a summary of what we have, the same way we would see it in the blueprints menu. The top left corner says day 1, and there is an exit button in the shape of an exit sign, as you would see in emergency exit signs. Right, we can save and continue, and we can save and quit, and that is what we're going to do here. Please let me know if you think you've spotted any puzzles and or their solutions, if you have any questions or needed clarifications to things that I have said in the descriptions down below. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next episode.